morning, everybody.
Where's the sunshine?
Right here.
Oh, all right.
Fiona, I'm going to just go ahead and mute. I'm going to ask people to mute, I guess.
Sure. Yes, if everyone could mute just to prevent any background noise from trickling in.
I'm sorry, this is my first time doing this. I have no idea what I'm doing, so you'll have to instruct me. Apologies.
That's
Sure.
okay.
No problem. So there should be a setting at the bottom of your screen where you can just toggle
Mute.
Yes.
Mute. Okay. And I'm wondering if there's a way, I'm kind of getting like blotchy sounds. Should I dial in? Would that be?
Sure. Yeah, you can definitely dial in. Do you need the number? I'll put it in the chat.
Unmute. Okay. Am I using the location number?
Just the meeting dial-in number that I put in the chat there. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see the 408 number.
Nope, it's 929-205-6099.
Oh yeah, I have that. So do I hang up with you now and then dial in on that?
Oh,
it's
Alexis,
okay. I'll stay the way I am.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were. Okay, I see. Okay. All righty. So a couple more folks, give people a minute or two. Get situated, and then we will start. I still see some people filing in, so.
If I could interrupt real quick, you can also mute yourself if you want to see the video and then call in on the phone to hear the audio. I have some meetings where someone I know does that. So another option.
Can everybody hear me all right before I get started?
I see, looks like Mary's having trouble with sound.
Okay. Yes, I see that.
Hi, Josh.
Good morning. I'm so happy to see you were able to join us.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll try.
I don't think any of us know what we're doing, but we feel good about the direction, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I'm going to get started now. And if I'm still, it seems like people can hear me okay. I hope that Mary can hear me now. But thank you also very much for coming this morning to the Resilient Master Plan Implementation Workshop. We're so excited to have you here for this last big push to get some final feedback on the strategies. We're so very excited to have a pretty lengthy discussion with you today, and we really appreciate you giving us your Saturday to do this. It's so very important to the final product, and we are looking forward to discussing with you. My name is Fiona. I am a consultant with Barrett Planning Group who has been working with, in coordination with PVPC on the community engagement piece for this plan. I will be moderating today and with my co-worker Alexis, who will be helping out as well. And I a lot of familiar faces here. I'm sure that some of you are sick of seeing my face at this point. But again, thank you so much. And I am going to bump it over to Josh for a quick intro.
Good morning, everybody. How's everyone? I hope everyone's doing okay. Hey, listen, I truly want to appreciate everybody who's been really taking the time and effort in contributing to this process. My own personal philosophy in anything that I do personally and professionally is you get what you plan for. And I think that this plan here is going to help Blandford better understand where it wants to go by the community input that's been contributing in this process, where it wants to go between now and the next 10 to 20 years or so. I hope you guys have all your breakfast. And I do want to thank Jen for putting the breakfast together for everybody. Thank you so much. I do want to apologize ahead of time. I'm going to participate in video for the first hour, and then I'll be participating via, I don't know, speakerphone on my way to the airport. But I do want to apologize ahead of time. Nevertheless, this is your plan, your process. So that's what's most important. And at this point, I'm going to pass it now to our high and mighty chairwoman, Mary Cronholm.
I'm unmuted. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I hope everybody has read through this massive tome and has come prepared with comments and questions. Oh, that looks good, Josh. Yes, and thank you to Jen for the sandwich, the breakfast. So I hope we're ready to roll. I don't want to take any more time. And I'm here with Linda Smith. We're sharing the screen.
Linda, good to see you.
Gosh, I know. Is this your worst nightmare?
Don't ever say that. No way.
Well, since I wouldn't, I wouldn't come to the building, but so Mary brought the building to me and no excuses accepted. Anyway, so no, this is something that I'm pretty passionate about, but I've just been, I just wanted to stay uninvolved for obvious issues. So anyway, but I do think I need to get my 2 cents worth in at some point. So.
Excellent.
We are looking forward to hearing everybody's 2 cents today. It's going to be super important. And yes, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Linda. And with that, we'll jump right in. Just starting off, we want to say, as we've been saying all morning, a big thank you to the committee members who are here and continue to participate and help us bring this plan to fruition. Your hard work does not go unnoticed, and we genuinely appreciate all that you've done with and worked with us throughout this time, and we couldn't thank you enough. We're looking forward to hearing from you again today. This is just a snapshot of what we're going to be doing today, quick welcome introductions. And then we're going to just jump into a very brief overview background of the project for those folks who may not have known about what we've done before this meeting today. We are going to do a word cloud exercise quickly, which you will be able to enter in submissions through the link that we'll be posting in the chat. Then we are going to break into 2 breakout groups and then reconvene, do a couple of polls, and then wrap up and show you our very fun, cool new story map, which I'm hoping that you all will utilize and enjoy. It really brings the project to light in a very interactive and fun way, and we're looking forward to showing you that. And of course, our photo contest, we had a lot of amazing submissions, really fantastic. We were blown away and impressed. Thank you all very much for participating in that. And we will showcase the winners at the end. So with that, so the brief background of the project, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this process. I see a lot of committee members on this call, but again, just for folks who are kind of just jumping in now, we wanted to just give you a quick master plan 101. The Resilient Master Plan is guided by Massachusetts general laws, and in order to complete that master plan, we need to follow that framework, and it has several components that are included, which I will get into in the next slide. But that is kind of the legal framework that we're following for this process. It is your blueprint for the next decade to 20 years. And it's going to guide a lot of your executive decision-making, policy decisions, and really kind of the major decision-making that's going to be happening. It's not a zoning bylaw. It is not a subdivision regulation. It's not your capital improvement plan. None of that. It really is it is an analysis of community development. It's kind of a game plan and blueprint for what is to come in the future years, and kind of a long range implementation of the recommendations that we will be talking about today, which is why this meeting is so incredibly important. So as I mentioned, the topics that are in a master plan, these are the kind of core topics: land use, housing, economic development, transportation, services and facilities, historic cultural resources, natural resources, open space, recreation, and then we have goals and implementation. Implementation, of course, is our focus today. And we have a very talented group of folks from PVPC who will be able to talk about specific recommendations as part of that implementation process once we break out. So where we are in this process. So we've reviewed your existing conditions, we've gathered input, we have identified the needs, we've developed goals, and here we are today kind of honing in on the strategies, really refining them and getting those in a proper place for the final product. So then we can do the implementation and that next kind of final phase. So at this time, I am going to give you an opportunity to participate in the word cloud. So if you just look at the chat, there is a link there. You have the option to enter in three separate submissions. Just enter in 1 or 2 words, please, in response to the question, and then we will show that at the end. There is a QR code on the screen as well, where you can take out your cell phone and just scan that. And if for some reason anybody is having trouble with the word cloud link, please let me know and I can send it to you after. Or whatever works, but I'm going to give people a minute or 2 to enter
So just as Fiona mentioned, I just put the link in the chat. So if you click on it, it will open a window in your web browser, and it'll have 3 spaces for you to answer. And we're just asking you 3 separate words. As you can see, when the screen is up, there's 3 fields. What do you want to see as a direct result of this plan? And if you're not comfortable hopping over to the chat to access the link, as Fiona mentioned, that QR code you can scan with your phone's camera or QR code reader. But we will give people a moment on that. Feel free to message me in the chat if you have any trouble.
I was just going to say, while folks are doing that, I did want to just really quickly recognize who I often reference to as the Commander-in-Chief, the Chair of the Select Board, Kara Latender, who's on with us here. So thanks, Kara, for taking time and participating in this and for the direction you've been providing for the last 3 years.
Thanks, Josh. I'm not turning my camera on because I'm not actually like awake yet. So we'll get there, but we're not there yet. But no, I have not done nearly as enough with this group. I feel like I've sort of slacked with it, but I think they are doing amazing things. So I'm happy to be here and listen and participate as much as I can.
So far, we have a few responses on this word cloud. Like Fiona said, we'll be revealing it at the end. You can do this at any time through the presentation, and maybe halfway through, I'll put the link in again if the chat gets populated with other information. But you'll get to see the final product at the end, and I'm happy to see a few responses already.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. And thanks, Kara. Yeah, I appreciate you being here. Looking forward to our discussion. All right. So again, please feel free to enter as we're kind of continuing through the presentation today. No pressure to put everything immediately in right now. and I will show the results later. So we just wanted to emphasize here, before we kind of start breaking into the, the meat and bones discussion, as we were, and PVPC were working to compile the goals for this master plan, there was really a lot of core themes that bubbled to the surface. And we wanted to just highlight those themes here, and because they really helped frame the goals and kind of frame what this plan and the recommendations and kind of what the plan is going to say. Really awesome feedback and very kind of unique to Blandford, those deep community connections and roots. We saw that really kind of a recurring theme throughout this outreach process. It was really fantastic. Community pride, hidden stories and rich history. That was just so fantastic to hear and see. As well as, of course, the emphasis on open space, wildlife, and nature, which is so precious to the town. And because of that, a kind of focus on balanced future growth. So these kind of core themes really did keep arising as we were chatting and as we kind of continued this outreach process. And we wanted to highlight that here because it really weighs so heavily on what the plan will say. So, so without further ado, it is time to get into the discussion. So I will be splitting folks up into 2 breakout groups now, and we will be projecting the strategies for you, and we'll have hopefully a very productive conversation about what you like and what you don't like. Clear up any questions or comments that you have. And if you just bear with me for a moment while I get those organized. Okay.
So as Fiona is getting those groups organized, I'll just say that the recommendations are broken down into topic. So when you're in your group, you'll be spending about 7 minutes per topic. We kind of calculated it as, down to the wire as we could to make sure that we don't spend too much time talking about one thing and then not being able to get through each of the topics. So that's how that will go. And then you'll have experts from PVPC in each group, so you'll get your questions answered.
Apologies, one more minute. I'm sorry.
Fine. I just keep checking the word cloud, and we're getting more and more responses. That's so great. That's so great. So far, 9 people have added their thoughts to that. It's great.
Welcome to room 2.
My internet is off and on, so that's why I'm off video right now, just so people know, but I am here.
Okay.
This is Ted. Yeah.
Hi, Ted.
Hi.
So I assume this is who we're going to have in our group. Catherine, as I said, I'll share the screen where with each set of recommendations. We're going to try to, we are in here a little bit sooner than we thought, so we'll have a little more time per slide, which is great, but I'll get that shared for you.
And I saw that Andy has to be admitted and sent to a room.
Oh, okay. All right.
I guess Fiona can take care of that.
Yes. Let's put him in. Okay. All right. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, we don't see it as a PowerPoint. We see all your stuff. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the first topic that we're going to allocate about 7 to 8 minutes of discussion on are the land use recommendations.
Hey, Alexis, can we just go back to a full screen so we can see each other for a second? Just
Sure.
I think we know, I know everybody, but I don't know Carrie. So I was wondering if we could just do a quick round of introductions in case everybody doesn't know everybody else.
Sure, thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, so Alexis obviously is with Barrett Planning Group. I'm Catherine Rattay. I work at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and I just want to echo everybody else, thanking you all for being here. And then Judith, why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm on the Council on Aging, and I don't know, what am I supposed to say? Just glad to be here.
Thank you. And also you're on the Resilient Master Plan Committee.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks
Chips.
for being here.
Yeah, I'm president of the Historical Society and on the Master Plan Committee.
Thanks. And next, Peter. Well, we gotta unmute you.
Hi, I'm a manager of the Blandford broadband internet.
Thanks for being here, Kara.
Hi, Carol Tender. I'm Select Board Chair.
And yes, thank you. And Ted Harvey.
Hi, Ted Harvey. I'm with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
And Ted worked on the housing chapter. So
Housing, yes.
He's knowledgeable about community development in general, but that's his piece of work today. And Bob.
I'm Bob. I'm sorry that Mandy got sent to a room. Was she bad? I live in Blandford. I'm on the Historic Commission, and I'm sitting on this committee too.
Thank you very much. And Carrie?
Hey guys, so I'm Carrie. I'm a Blandford resident and also on Rec Committee, which is, pretty stellar. And I'm not going to be using video, and I will definitely try to interact, but my daughter's with me. She's 15. And we are hauling horses out to New Hampshire right now. Okay. So I'm here to listen and contribute, but forgive me for not videoing with y'all.
No, that's great, Carrie. And your daughter is welcome to chime in too. We would love to have her perspective on these recommendations. So thank you both for being here.
Awesome.
And Linda.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Linda Barnard, resident of Blandford, and I am on the Historic Society and the Historic Commission.
Thank you very much for being here. So back to you, Alexis.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So okay. So the first topic that PVPC is going to explore with us are the land use recommendations, and I will go ahead and read them for those of you who may not be able to view the screen, and then we're just going to open it up for discussion in case you have any questions about them. When we come back to the larger group, you'll be responding to a poll where you're going to kind of identify what you would say are the top 3 of these land use recommendations. So the first recommendation is to strengthen the town site plan review bylaw and process by adding that design guidelines. Promote home occupations and cottage industries by explaining and publicizing the process to residents. Protecting Blandford scenic vistas by adopting a new local regulation. Explore an open space residential development or cluster housing bylaw to promote permanently preserved open spaces, agricultural lands, forest lands, and other natural resources. And I just want to pause before I read the next ones to show, because this is going to come up. There are recommendations that cross over elements. So obviously that one relates to talk about a cluster housing bylaw. You might think, well, that has to do with housing. Why are we talking about it in land use? But because by definition of what a cluster housing bylaw does is it helps preserve open space rather than spreading out housing. And so there are kind of themes that cross over with these recommendations. So you may see some kind of repeated language as we move on to other topics. The fifth recommendation, investigate protection of scenic roads and roadway trees through passage of the Scenic Roads Act. And then the final land use recommendation, adopting a town center overlay district to create incentives for mixed use development that could include business, retail, residential, and civic uses. And this overlay district would include other requirements to assure consistency with the existing look and feel of the town. So those are the 6 recommendations that PVPC is proposing for the land use topic within the master plan. And I will turn it over to Catherine if there's any you want to talk about further, or if anyone has questions. Like I said, we have about 7 minutes per.
Thanks, Alexis.
topic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. So many of you serve on the committee, so you've seen these and worked them through. And so I guess Kara and Linda and Carrie are new to these. Thinking about them all, one prompt that we have is to consider which of these recommendations you think are the most accurate and would be the most useful for the town as a way to kick off our discussion, unless you have any questions about any clarification. And feel free to unmute yourselves to just, everybody can unmute.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, we can go ahead. Now that we're in a smaller group, we can just.
Yeah, everybody go ahead and
unmuted.
unmute. Chips, it looks like you were going to talk. You got to unmute.
There we are. No, I not at the present second. I'm have not focused a whole lot on land use.
Okay.
I'm more the historical side of things, but
So do any of these resonate with anybody? Do you think like, yes, great, I'm so glad that's in there?
Well, for me,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Kara.
No, you go, Judy.
Okay, I'm very happy to see, the cluster housing, since we were hoping that eventually there could be some housing for seniors. And so for me, that I like seeing that there. I really do.
Kara?
I was going to say, I really like the overlay because one of the things that I really want to push Blandford towards some more community involvement, and which obviously involves some more space to have that. So that one is really exciting for me.
Oh, are we recording? Yes. And so if people don't understand in terms of zoning land use regulations, land uses are divided by use. So, you have a place for housing, you have a place for business, but the overlay, you can lay different uses on top to say, we want multiple uses in this area. So we want there to be some businesses. We want people to live here. We want people to walk here and shop here. And so that's what you can do with an overlay. Do we need to move on, Alexis?
Not yet. We still have
okay.
we certainly can move on.
No,
we're
just
still within the timeline for this first recommendation in case people have.
And again, if people aren't, go ahead.
Quick question.
Yes.
You said we're supposed to choose 3 of these that we like. Was that, am I misunderstanding?
Yes. When we all come back as a group, we're going to be asking everybody to vote so that we can have some guidance, as to put in the final product that says people want these ones first.
Right.
Probably,
and you don't have
probably a little late to suggest this, but if these were numbered, it would be a lot easier for people to say that they like number 3 or 2 or whatever.
That's a good point.
When we get to the poll, Bob, you'll easily get to select. So for now, this is just kind of discussion purposes. I see what you're saying. Just to make sure that when we get to the polling, everybody understands the language within each recommendation. But when we come back to the larger group, there'll be a poll on your screen, and you'll check off 3 of them. And then that gives PVPC the ability to kind of prioritize, because one of the things in the implementation plan is organizing the strategies in terms of if it's like a high level of priority or a low level of priority. So it's kind of seeing what members of the community think will help with that. So I hear you.
Are there any more questions or comments?
The idea,
Yes, go ahead, Chip. Oh,
Sorry.
Chips and then Judith.
Yep.
yeah, the idea of protecting scenic visits by adopting a new local regulation. I'm not sure what that involves in terms of binding landowners to various things, and what are we talking about here in terms of government and private ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chips, because I was just going to point that out, that some of these proposals are regulatory and some of them are educational. And some of the strategies include a goal with an action. And we tried to get that apart, but still we couldn't completely. So if you want to protect Blandford scenic vistas, you could do it regulatorily, or you could do it, softer through education and outreach. But what we're suggesting is a regulation. And so you're right. The town would adopt a regulation that would say, this is an area that we want to protect. So that means people can't build to block the view from the other people. So it would be the government, telling people what they could do. So it's important to discuss, how you think the role of government is in your community, and whether you want to have a regulatory solution or something that's more of a collaborative educational thing that says we all agree that this is what we want to do, but we're doing it because we want to do it, not because somebody's making us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point.
One other thing, I'm particularly interested in the Native American evidences that are around historically, and getting involved with a statement, not a regulatory one, but one that tries to impress on everybody the importance of recognizing it if it is on your land, and that we move forward to celebrate our local previous settlers here, namely the Native Americans.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good theme, respecting history and cherishing the past. I think that's something we can weave in. Any other comments or questions?
I was wondering, I would like to know more about the strengthening the town's site plan review bylaw.
Sure. So for the specifically the design guidelines, I think is
Yeah.
Catherine, can you speak?
Well, it was I think it's adding a site plan review bylaw that includes design guidelines, because the town doesn't have a site plan review bylaw now. So it would be adding that, but then including, so design guidelines in the site. So it's an interesting sort of combination of regulation with aesthetic, putting in your values of what you want places to look like, integrating that into your regulations. So you'd have to, you do a process to say, this is what things look like, and we want things to look similar to what they are. We're open to this much change. So the design guidelines would go in so that when the development is proposed, you'd be able to review it. The planning board would be able to review it based on the design in addition to the site plan. So you could say that we want the site plan, we want a distance from the road. We want certain protection for the neighbors, the people who have property next to you. So those are the things that you could write in. And we haven't yet given any language, but we've said this is a tool that the town might want to consider to include. And then the tool would be crafted based on your values.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think yep, go ahead.
One other quick thing in reference to Chips's question, maybe this town could begin to look into adopting some of the ideas that occur in the federal government. The national parks have the National Historic Preservation Act, and they have the Archaeological Resources Protection Act, both of which make it illegal to take things off of public lands, but that only applies to the federal government, and there might be an opportunity to strengthen some of our local bylaws or whatever by looking into those two acts.
That's great. That's a great idea. Thank you very much. I think we need to move to our next topic.
Yes. All right. So thank you, everybody. That was great. So when we return, you'll kind of pick your top 3 of those. And it doesn't mean you don't agree with the other ones, but maybe they're a lower priority to you. So transportation, we have more to talk through. So these were the transportation recommendations that came up, and we'll do our best to answer. Catherine, if there's anything that we need to kind of bump back to Andy when we rejoin.
No, we're familiar with all of these projects. Yeah.
Monitor pavement condition and advance improvement projects based on the 2020 local pavement management study. Perform regular traffic data collection to assess existing travel speeds and volumes at key locations. And another thing to note with that is that kind of added language with that recommendation was that I believe PVPC communities can get 2 traffic counts a year. That language was in there as well. Consider an in-depth safety study for the curved section of Otis Road as identified in this chapter. Work with MassDOT to identify opportunities to replace the existing deficient structure on Otis Stage Road, and continue to monitor the state of bridges and culverts in town through the MassDOT municipal data dashboard. This 5th one generated quite a bit of discussion when we were in focus groups, I recall. Pursue adoption of a complete streets policy and develop a complete streets prioritization plan. And we can kind of speak more to that if you have questions on what that means. Utilize the results of Walk Boston's walk audit to advance improvements to pedestrian safety. Expand the existing map of walking routes for use by residents. Explore opportunities with the FRTA to improve the reliability of existing services and to expand your existing senior van service in the future. Apply to the Community Transit Grant Program to support existing volunteer senior ride services. I know that you have this wonderful volunteer senior ride service, but these last 3 recommendations really could kind of be grouped together to say exploring ways to support this existing volunteer mechanism you have to provide ride assistance for seniors. So that last one is just another way. Work with surrounding communities and special interest groups to identify opportunities to provide additional senior ride services in the future. So those are our 10 recommendations that are brought forth in the transportation chapter. We can discuss them for about 5 to 7 minutes and answer any questions you may have, so you can kind of determine what your top priorities are.
So yeah, so let's do questions first. If anybody has doesn't understand anything or isn't familiar with any of the terminology.
I don't know what complete streets means.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been a leader in this across the country. Back in the early 2000s, they developed a manual that said our streets are not just for motorized vehicles. They are for people who walk and ride bikes and who take the bus and who are in wheelchairs at times. And so over time, the state has developed a program, and to incentivize, to encourage municipalities to invest resources in walking and biking, they created the Complete Streets program. And they said that if you adopt a Complete Streets policy that commits the town to saying when we repave our roads, if they don't yet have a bike lane or a crosswalk or a sidewalk, if it's appropriate, you have to add it. And so if you adopt a policy, then and you develop a prioritization plan that says, here in our town, we want a sidewalk here, a bike lane here, and then you can apply for funding. You become eligible for a special pot of funding that only cities and towns that have adopted a policy and have a plan are eligible to apply for. And then you get extra money, $400,000 a year, to implement those projects. So it's like the Green Communities program that Blandford has been participating in, and you jump through a bunch of hoops from the state, and then they give you money to keep doing what they want you to do. Any other questions about the recommendations?
Does noise abatement of the turnpike come under transportation?
We did not address that. So if that's something that you want to raise, that would be a good thing to add. And thanks for bringing that up. We forgot to say, like, are there pressing recommendations that you've been thinking, strategies that the town needs to adopt in any of these categories? Mm-hmm. So abatement of the noise from the turnpike. That's something important to put in.
This is Peter. I have to add to that noise abatement by prohibiting or the use of Jake brakes. The truck traffic on my road, North Blandford Road, is terrible. And I suspect the same thing on 23 when they use those brakes. So that's noise, and also the protection of the road surface because of the heavy traffic.
Great, thank you. That's terrific. Any other questions or comments? We have some conversation prompts. Which recommendations are the things that are the most pressing for the town that you've been wishing would appear? If there's any of those that jump out at you, you want to highlight.
Well, for the Council on Aging, obviously, it's the opportunities for additional ride services and any help with that. So the last like 3 kind of relate to that, and they would be important to the Council on Aging.
Yeah, and I think Alexis's suggestion that those all be merged is a good idea, because it's a commitment plus some identification of funding and an approach of doing it regionally. So I think they can all go together. Yeah.
Yeah. When we come back, before I launch that poll, I'll change that because I don't want someone to feel they have to put all their 3 votes.
Oh, that's great.
3.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would be
I'll make
perfect.
that change.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right or not.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, hopefully you have my screen blocked. I don't know.
No, we can see you because you have your video on.
Oh no, you just see me eating my sandwich. Oh, how embarrassing. Well, it's the effort that counts, I guess.
Exactly.
Everybody knows I'm a little eccentric anyway, so that's all right. So anyways, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to add in a few things. Is that I was wondering if there's any way to get some type of transportation. I know the Council on Aging has their transportation, but for people who are disabled, because I have a deaf handicapped sister and also myself, there's no transportation for people in between those age groups. And also where the post office is located, I was talking to Josh about what about a community center? I know that the Council on Aging has their area, and I don't want to get into that, but there's no community center for the youth or for people such as my age bracket. Those are
great. Those are
topics.
Yeah, those are terrific. Thank you very much for bringing those up. That's very helpful. Anything else jumping out at people that you want to comment on? The other prompt is taking it from the negative side. Are there any of these that you think are off base for Blandford that don't make sense?
That's an excellent question.
One of the things I wondered about is like for walking routes, if it's like where I am, it's like Kara Wright State Road up to a certain point, and a lot of people walk on the part that belongs to the state. So there's nothing we could do about improving the walkability there, right? So it would only be for the town, correct?
No, I think you can collaborate with the state to see what's possible. That's a good question that Ted, I don't know if you have an answer to that, but otherwise we can check with Gary or Andy. Ted, do you know?
I don't, but I am taking notes, so I will,
okay.
We can definitely.
Yeah, I think
come back with that.
I feel confident that there's something you could do, but we'll check with Gary and Andy to make sure.
Okay, because the road from my house up the street belongs to the town, and there are a lot of people walking there, and it is a little dangerous because there is no where to walk when a car decides it's going to come at you from nowhere, but jumping the guardrail. So, you know, I didn't know whether it could be a useful thing to think about.
That's terrific. Thank you. That's great.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sure supposed to raise my hand or not.
Yeah,
oh, no, you're fine.
Just talk.
Okay. Give you something to laugh at. Oh, I can talk. Everybody in town knows that. I'm trying to be quiet over here. I'm just trying to bring up some ideas, as I was always brainstorming with Josh, and I have tons and tons of ideas, but I don't want to overpower the conversation. So I've done a lot of traveling. I've traveled around the world, and I've done a lot of different things and seen a lot of different towns and lived a lot of different places. And I think a sense of community is kind of needed in Blandford. There's nowhere for, well, I wouldn't say there's nowhere, there's tons of things to do, but the younger generation, there's not a skate park.
You're breaking up a little bit. It might be good if you turned off your video to.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing, Carrie, that I. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I just want to make sure it's not just my computer. So I'm trying to mute that. Is everyone else hearing kind of that echo?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought it was her trying to talk.
I think it is, but I'm trying to mute it because obviously there's a problem. But what I would suggest to Carrie, if you can hear me, is I would kind of parking lot those other thoughts until the end, only because we have other topics that they might come up during. So right now, these recommendations pertain to transportation. We're going to move on in a moment to, I believe, housing is the next one. There is a facilities and services element where it may fit. So I think a lot of these big ideas, let's wait and see where they coincide with the different topics. And then if there's some big idea you have that hasn't been addressed, definitely let us know if that works for you, Carrie.
So are we done with this section, or do we have any more time? We're done?
Well, if anyone has a last question or two, I do want to move on after.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. So for housing, this one is a bit easier to think of your top 3 because we have 5. And we also have the privilege of having the author of the housing chapter in our group. So we can have any specific questions we can certainly get clarified. But so the recommendations relating to housing, explore senior housing development and programs that allow for aging in place, such as an accessory apartment bylaw or other regulatory and non-regulatory tools. Expand the types of residential uses allowed in town, including perhaps zoning changes that would allow 3 or 4 unit homes. Plan for affordable housing by developing what is known as a housing production plan. Adopt low impact development standards for all new residential developments, and explore the benefits of adopting an accessory apartment zoning bylaw. So those are.
So does anybody have any questions or not understand any of the language?
What's a housing production plan?
Good question. Ted, would you like to respond?
Yeah, it's a very prescribed plan, and it's basically it's an extension to some extent of what we're talking about here, and it's just a more in-depth. It's really a focus on the what the town would be looking at for housing development, particularly focusing on affordable housing. It also I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. It's to kind of to show what the housing needs are, and then also what opportunities there are for future developments, if any, in town. So it also can really help, or it not really help. It can help with when 40B development. So it can what am I trying to say here? It can help prevent unwanted 40B development. So that's if you have a certified production plan. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, Catherine.
Yeah, just as Ted was saying, so Massachusetts has a law that says there should be diversity of housing in all communities. And if you don't have 10% of your housing population deemed affordable by the local housing values, then a developer can come to your community and put in an affordable housing development against or without any approval of the local board. But if you have 10% affordable housing, or if you have an approved housing production plan that says, this is what we want in Blandford, and over time we are going to grow to accommodate all different kinds of people who want to live here, then you can still control what kind of housing development happens in your community. So it's a way of taking charge of the kind of housing development that happens in your community. And it's an excellent next step of when you have a resilient master plan, then you go to that step. It's a logical next step.
So it as Ted had mentioned, it's a pretty prescribed process, and there are certain requirements like that it needs to have a needs analysis that looks at existing housing, community needs, projected needs, and barriers to development. And then it also includes a goals section and then kind of a strategies section. So much like many other types of planning documents, you look at what our goals are, how we're going to get
Okay,
there.
thanks, Alexis. Are there any other questions about any specifics of these elements? Are there any that you feel are off base? Like, are you familiar with an accessory apartment, in-law apartment bylaws? Anybody have any questions about those?
Would that mean that only in certain places these apartments could be, or I don't really get that, I guess.
Ted, do you want to elaborate on that, or would you like me to?
You're more on the zoning side of things, so feel free.
So again, in terms of, I love being able to think about, there's regulatory solutions and then there's education and lots of other kinds of solutions. So this one is a regulatory one that says, we're going to allow people who own their homes to add an apartment, to transform the existing home or build onto it, to say, here's a place that meets our requirements, and it can be a separate housing unit. So if you're living there and you're older and you want your kids to be able to live there, maybe they don't have enough money to buy their own homes yet, but they want to live in Blandford, you could make an apartment and let them get started there. So you can decide, because it's a local regulation, you can decide where it's allowed, you can decide what the criteria are. But again, it gives you a way to expand housing choices without necessarily having any new development with the existing housing stock that you have. It's an increasingly popular thing to do to expand housing choice.
Thank you.
Can I add in there? Can I add in there?
Of course, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please forgive my mannerisms. I'm not sure how to.
No, you're doing great.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm just going to talk really fast in case the video cuts out again. Kind of backstepping a little bit there. I also want to talk about what you're talking about, the mother-in-law, because I'm trying to do a bed and breakfast. It's going to take a lot of time, but that's kind of what we're working on right now. Did you hear that part so far?
Yep.
Okay. And I just had a contractor over the house last night, Mr. Piper, about an in-law apartment. And then I also wanted to backstep a little bit, because I kind of feel like there needs to be more tax revenue brought into the town. My background is accounting, budgeting, and marketing. That's my degree. I kind of feel like the town in the center is like a drive-through. There's no real stop, like a community center, like a antique shop or clothing shop or somewhere that brings people to Blandford. Why are people going to come to Blandford? We have a lovely country store, but what else is there to offer? So that's just kind of what I wanted to say. And I wasn't sure if you heard about, for community, a dog park. A lot of places I travel, they have a dog park that brings a lot of the elderly people together. For my mom, towards the end of her life, she was like a shut-in. So she basically just had her computer, but she had a dog, but she couldn't walk the dog. So if you had like a dog park or a skate park or those kinds of things, just a few suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the overlay district in the land use section that Kara pointed out, that's a way to achieve what you were talking about. That's a regulatory solution to try to make it more likely that people would be able to start businesses in the town center. So that's the regulatory side, but I appreciate you lifting up the economic side in terms of tax revenue. So we'll see if that's in our economic section, and if not, we'll make a note of it. How are we doing on time, Alexis? And you got muted somehow. You got muted.
I have a comment question.
Great, go ahead, Peter.
So if I'm not mistaken, we have a very strict subdivision zoning law. which requires all utilities to be underground and other regulations. I know that was voted on many years ago. I hope it's still in place. I don't think it's been rescinded. I think that's a good thing, because do you know about that?
Yeah, it's climate resilience, right? It's not exposing them to to be vulnerable. Is that what your point? But
No,
keep going.
No, it's not. It's more to restrict, a lot of development.
Mm.
I'm talking about, Kara, do you know about that? The zoning, that actually Winifred put that through?
I'm not aware of anything. No, Peter, I'm not off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, pretty sure it's there. I know it was voted on.
Okay.
It requires all subdivisions to have all utilities if we had any subdivisions, to be underground utilities.
And you're
I'm sure Donnie would know about that.
Are you saying you would like to make sure that that stays in place? Is that what you're lifting up? Okay.
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay. All right, I do want to move on to economic development because we have that's probably the richest set of recommendations with a lot of overlap with the other elements. So there's actually 2 slides for it. All right. So and some of it crosses over, like I said, to some of it crosses over to the historic and cultural resources. This first one's also a recommendation in there. Crosses over to land use. There's so many rich ideas in the economic development. So we're going to spend a few minutes on each slide and make sure we get to talk about them. So the first one is to pursue a cultural district designation for the village center. This will come up again in the, like I said, the cultural and historic resources element as well. Form a collective that brings together village center institutions for problem solving and planning. Carrie's thought of, talking about her bed and breakfast, being able to develop a business in there. I believe that is what this recommendation is speaking to, bringing together everything that's in the village center as kind of a collective to engage in problem solving and planning. Work with nearby communities that bring like businesses and economic development strategies together for all, including the Gateway Hilltowns Collaborative. Provide mini grants through recovery funding to activate outdoor spaces in the village center. Advanced drinking water upgrades. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with economic development? But things that make it so your town is a draw all contributes to economic development. So I found this topic very interesting. Create a visitor readiness plan for the village center that includes good wayfinding so people know how to get around. Evaluate the best strategy for a new tenant or owner at the old town hall. Conduct traffic counts. This came up in transportation as well, but throughout the seasons to get a sense of how much additional vehicle travel occurs along Route 23 during summer months. Analyze permanent and temporary street signage to understand what would be most effective for attracting passerby to village center businesses. Carrie also brought that up with how the center seems kind of like a drive-through right now, but creating signage that would draw people and destinations that would draw people into the center. And then re-examining the zoning standards for signs. So like I said, there is another economic development slide, but it's too much for one. So I just let's focus on this first batch. And then we'll move on to the next batch.
Hey guys, can I jump in for a minute?
Hey, can I ask yeah, and then I want to jump in too.
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
So this is Carrie, and I just want to make sure we're giving credit where credit is due. I do not run a bed and breakfast. I have 2 children, and it feels like I do. But I believe Sheila is the one who runs the bed and breakfast and had the comments earlier. So I just want to throw that out there. That's okay. I just want to make sure, you guys.
Thanks for clarifying. Who had the question or comment?
I have another question. Actually, kind of a comment, and I'm not running it yet. I don't want to get in trouble with the town. I'm trying to go by the book. It's a long thing in process. But I have some questions. I tried to do a fundraiser with the Blandford Fair. Like I try to think of revenue because I'm really budget minded and I just love tackling budget.
Oh, I think
We lost you completely.
She's muted.
I
But
have
it
a
looks like
question.
she's dropped as a participant.
Yeah, she
Go
was
ahead,
on the
Peter.
iPhone.
This
Yeah,
is Peter. Can you, I didn't mean to break in. Okay.
Yes.
What do you mean by advanced drinking water upgrades? I don't go anywhere without taking Blandford water with me, just for the record. So, because I think it's the best.
Peter,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna
that
have to.
it's talking. Oh,
Yeah, please go ahead, Kara.
I think that it's talking about expanding. I know we've been talking for a few years now about expanding the line a bit, and part of it is also that the lines are 4 to 6 inch in diameter right now and need to be upgraded to 8 inch in order for proper safety for the fire hydrants.
Okay.
So there's, yeah, so that's what I think they're referring to, and I think that one is super important. It's a pretty big project, and we've been talking about how exactly we're going to go about it for a few years now.
Okay, yes, I actually had a long discussion with Gordon. They put the internet up to the hut of the fire sign. He told me all about those lines, so that's good. It is important.
Yes, it's needed. Yeah, but I wanted to say that I'm really hopeful for the something to happen with the old town hall. It's been there, sitting there sort of, I mean, we use it for fire department, but not much for a while now. And I think it is like, Sheila was saying, a good space to be used for something community wise. And we've talked a lot, there's a tie with the parking lot, and there's some issues where we can't really rent it out or lease it. So if we could have some sort of put that in the spotlight to figure out how to go about, our next step of making it a useful space, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments about this slide, or should we jump to make sure we see them all?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
And we can always go back to this because there's, like I said, there's 2 economic development slides. So if as you see the next recommendations, you want to go back, we can. Okay, so promote shared technical skills to enable all village center businesses and institutions to maximum social media exposure. Identify possible trail linkages. So this also comes up with open space. Thinking about the use of the dirt road network, existing off-road trails, and potential opportunities. Develop trail wayfinding resources, including a recognizable directional sign. Evaluate parkage, signing, and access to bathroom facilities along the trail network. Meet with trail advocates in other towns to begin identifying how connections could be made for longer walking journeys. Initiate a more robust conversation with Ski Blandford owners to understand how the town might support a mountain biking park. Work with local mountain bikers and local Northeast Mountain Biker Association members to gauge interest in mountain biking resources. Advocate for pilot payment revenue that adequately compensates for the full value of protected open space. And then lastly, seek assistance and tools for permitting solar and marijuana development and ensuring payments are of net benefit. So as I had said, one of the things that I think is so interesting about the economic development themes are how much they connect to other topics in the plan, because it's so much about, what can we do to bolster interest. And so because of the beautiful open space resources you have, I think that is why there's several recommendations relating to open space resources in connection to economic development.
So does anybody go ahead, Chips.
I'd point out that Shannon Walsh in the last couple of days has been doing inventory work in town, in the center part of town, which will, with particularly the public buildings, let us be in a position to start looking for grants to upgrade our facilities or whatever. That this is true with the Historical Society. The main building is a town-owned building, and we've been stymied about looking forward to trying to get any grant money. And I also think that the fair needs to be encouraged to perhaps get involved and helped get involved in getting some money to save the agricultural hall. It's a gem and part of economic development in terms of keeping our points to come to and just keep them healthy.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to add under evaluate parking signage and access to bathroom facilities. The town ought to consider, there are two national programs that are pretty heavily subscribed to by the national parks and state parks and the Appalachian Mountain Club, scouting groups and the like, called Leave No Trace and Tread Lightly. And the Leave No Trace program is particularly important for our trail system. So I think it becomes an education thing, but I think we need to add that to this somehow.
Okay.
Great, thank you very
Thanks.
much. And is everybody familiar with Pilot as payment in lieu of taxes? That's an option for developers. So again, are any of, oh, go ahead.
I don't know what that is.
That's what it stands for, payment in lieu of taxes. So it's a way for you to, if people are going to purchase your open space or develop it, you make sure that they pay you the cost of the value that you have for it. I'm sorry, that's not a very good explanation. Alexis, or if you want to elaborate.
No, I think your explanation was
Okay.
as clear as I could make it as well.
All right, thanks.
Yeah,
So
I was
again,
just gonna add, that's what we're
Yes.
getting from the solar companies is
Right.
Pilot.
right, thank you. So you should be getting a lot of money. Hopefully
We
you're getting a lot
are,
of
yes.
money from them. Good,
It's a good, I think about 180,000 this year.
Wow.
great.
So in the interest of time, I just want to move on, and we can always come back to
Okay,
questions
thank you.
if people have them. Historic and cultural resources, develop a preservation plan to identify cultural resources and prioritize documentation and projects to include all of Blandford's history. Investigate feasible reuse of Shepherd Farm. Apply to the Rural and Small Town Fund for a feasibility study for use of the farm. Consider adopting the Community Preservation Act as a state match funding that allows residents to support many initiatives. Pursue a center cultural district designation. This came up in economic development as well. Establish meetings perhaps on a quarterly basis with representatives from key groups, and to add information on related websites to keep stakeholders and residents informed. And outline goals through 2030 to foster partnerships and strengthen existing resources. So that really is just speaking to consistent collaboration with stakeholders and partnerships that can help promote the town's existing resources. And then the last one really speaks to sustainability. Develop emergency response plans for significant built cultural resources and collections. Which would include long-term maintenance plans for significant public and private resources. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 historic and cultural resource recommendations. If there are any specific questions, now would be the time.
Anything seem off base? Anything particularly pressing for you? You want to make sure that we hear that?
No questions, but I did want to add that we have started the feasibility study for Shepherd Farm.
Okay.
But I don't think we've actually started the study yet, but we're pursuing that through a grant.
Okay.
Great. It's always nice to put recommendations in your master plan that you're already working on, because then you can celebrate them and point to the success and everybody's like, oh, good, we're actually making progress.
Right.
That's a good point.
Okay, great. So I know we have 3 slides left and we have 20 minutes left. So if there's nothing really kind of that people want to ask about in this one, I might move on in case the other ones are a little more discussion worthy. Because it seems like this seems pretty supported.
Anybody want to say anything about the Community Preservation Act? Anybody have any concerns or want to lift that up?
I look forward to having the town support our desire to get our historical society building, the town building, handicapped accessible and enlarged slightly to continue to meet the needs of space needs that we have. We're running out of space to store things that are historic value to the town. So we have a plan there that hopefully the town will support in terms of going after grants to accomplish it.
Okay.
And just for people who don't know, the Community Preservation Act is another initiative from the state of Massachusetts that says communities are allowed to create their own fee system that when property transfers happen, you can pay either 1%, 2%, or 3% of the property transfer into a fund locally. And then everybody pays that based on you can set criteria. You could say, only after $100,000 value does it start kicking in, or you could set whatever value, but the people who are transferring property pay, and then the state matches it. So right now, the state is already providing these matching funds to every city and town that has adopted the Community Preservation Act. And every town that has not yet adopted it is missing out on those resources because they're being spread around, but not to the communities that don't yet have the Community Preservation Act. So it's a way to raise money. There is a little bit of a local contribution, but there's a considerable match, and communities have been raising money this way for a number of years.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks.
All right, open space and natural resources. These have come up in, some of these have come up in other topics, but maintain 7-year updates to the OSRP. I know that is currently being wrapped up, but so this recommendation would be to, make sure that it continues to be updated, to consider priorities for acquisition and protection of open space, implement a comprehensive strategy for protecting surface water, groundwater, and the watersheds that feed them. Continue to coordinate planning with Springfield around the Cobble Mountain Reservoir and Long Pond Reservoir watershed lands and build trust. Review subdivision regulations and evaluate addition of performance standards for sensitive natural areas. Require vegetated buffers next to wetlands, streams, and rivers to filter stormwater runoff and to allow river migration and expansion during storms. And evaluate the potential for a performance-based stormwater management bylaw.
So any questions or, yeah, go ahead, Chip.
Yeah. With the Cobble Mountain Reservoir one, it would be stronger if the ultimate goal was to have some kind of community use of the land that they own, something to the effect that not that we're just building trust or whatever, but ultimately the ultimate objective is to have some kind of access to the incredible amount of land they have in some appropriate way, but I don't see any trust unless there's an ultimate goal of letting us walk on the land.
Okay. Yeah, that's really key. Thank you. That needs to be added. Absolutely.
Yeah, we heard that in pretty much any community engagement that was conducted was the desire to.
And I don't know, Alexis, if it's possible to edit that before people vote, to put in to build trust and with the goal of allowing access for Blandford residents.
Okay, so what I can do when we reconvene, I'll let Fiona know that I need a minute. I can't edit them right now, but
yeah.
I want to the transportation for seniors, collapse those down. And
yeah.
So yes, I'll let Fiona know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So any other questions, clarifications, things you want to highlight, things that are missing? Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I would be a little stronger on that particular area. But there really is a need to look over this contract that's been in existence for years and years and years with with the Springfield water people as to whether it's fair and just to the town, whether you bring the courts in or you spring for an attorney to do that, really needs to be looked at right from the beginning.
Thank you. That's a good addition.
Okay. So, so Catherine, I'll lean to you a little bit to help me with how we can make that stronger. So, build trust and increase access. I'm not sure if in the poll, if you want me to add some of Bob's stronger language or just make a note that maybe could be reflected.
I was thinking that should be a new suggestion that comes out of this workshop that wasn't there before, but that's really specific, that says, look at the contract and, you know, hire a lawyer to see what's, because there's been lots of talk, but nobody has said that specifically. So I think that's important to call out.
Okay. All right. So it might not be in the poll, Bob, but we will definitely make sure that gets noted and passed along to Ken, who did the open space portion of that. Okay.
Don't blame me. They might cut off my water.
We will not accredit it to you, although this is being recording. We forgot to tell you. Anything else that you want to lift up or that you think is missing, that's not feasible or that's particularly pressing?
All right, great. So the next topic, Catherine's area of expertise in this plan, climate resilience and sustainability topics. The recommendations include adopt the green infrastructure and climate resiliency policy. That's kind of an addendum. Apply for competitive grants to make municipal buildings and vehicles energy efficient, saving money and reducing GHGs, include integrating the Gateway Regional School District into the energy reduction plan. Work with PVPC through Green Communities funding to develop a net zero action plan for residents and businesses. Conduct a culvert inventory and assessment, a map of hotspot flooding, and prioritize maintenance, repair, and replacement. Meet MEMA and DPH standards to make Gateway Regional School and Town Hall emergency shelters, including securing backup power. Track hazardous materials transported on I-90 and Route 23. Train the fire department, police, etc. on response to chemical spills. Educate applicators of snow ice management products about alternatives. And modernize and improve resilience of water treatment and distribution to meet DEP compliance standards. So I will let Catherine answer any questions you may have about these 8 recommendations relating to climate resilience and sustainability. We have one more slide after this, so I think we will have just enough time to cover everything.
Anybody have any questions or comments, or again, things you want to lift up or things that you think are inappropriate, too long-term?
What's the definition of the first one? What exactly do you mean by adopt the green, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a little bit, it's a hard recommendation when you don't know what the policy is. So that's the policy is not explained here, but it includes a lot of different recommendations that really the town would need, the planning board will need, and the highway department will need to go through and say yes to this, maybe no to that, yes to this. So it's a boilerplate green infrastructure climate resiliency policy that includes right now things like low impact development, things like considering electric vehicles, requiring electric vehicle hookups for new developments. It's basically a catch-all. So we don't have time to go through it all right now, but it is included as a draft resource. And so I'll understand if you don't rate this one as high because it's not really clearly explained.
But it's pretty standard. It sounds like it's pretty standard kind of recommendations that.
Yeah, it would again, it's a regulatory approach to integrate the use of nature-based solutions and sort of the most cutting edge climate regulations that are possible into the town's bylaws. So maybe the recommendation should be written, review the proposed green infrastructure climate resiliency policy and adopt the ones that make sense for the town.
Okay.
Maybe
Can I
we
have-
don't want to regulate ourselves to death.
Yeah, exactly. That's certainly a concern. Who was speaking for a second there?
Linda, and I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
The track hazardous material. Are we also including solar farms, how they would respond to solar farm fire or to the marijuana farms that are now coming to town?
That's a good point. We could add that. That's an important thing to bring up. Thank you.
So that was in relation to the the third bullet from the bottom. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, third from the bottom. Excuse me. Any other comments or questions or things you want to point out about these?
Okay.
I just want to again celebrate the town for being a certified green community and how successful you've been in getting your competitive. You got your allocation, you spent it, you made the buildings energy efficient. You got 2 more competitive grants. Really churning through that.
So the last topic before we come back to kind of determine our top 3 in relation to each one has to do with public facilities and services. And so I'll just read through them quickly. Improve communication for civic engagement and emergency response preparedness. Support service and capital improvements for operations like the Porter Memorial Library and Town Clerk's Office. Study the feasibility for service regionalization of some services. Support services for senior, disadvantaged, and veteran residents. This 5th bullet I want to kind of explain a little bit because it has some kind of sub bullets under there, but establish mechanisms linking the master plan with work plans, budgets, and capital projects. It really is, this is about ensuring implementation of the plan. So it would be things like forming a master plan implementation committee, using the plan's implementation table as guidance, and convene an annual meeting of town boards, committees, and commissions to share progress. That last one I really want to emphasize because that came up in the focus groups of which I was a part of about just the greater need, how is this going to be implemented if boards, committees, commissions, and town staff actually are all kind of regularly meeting to discuss progress. Implement building and maintenance improvements by implementing a capital improvement budget and plan with opportunities for funding through CDBG. Complete a feasibility study for a new accessible highway department building site with a salt shed. Move fire department operations to the current highway department building to better accommodate capacity for firefighters and fire trucks. Strengthen the programs at the Council on Aging to include continued outreach services, health, nutrition, and recreation programs. And provide intergenerational opportunities for engagement with school-age residents and seniors, exploring programming through the school districts and other opportunities. So someone in this group earlier had kind of spoken to the need for like more community engagement, and they specifically mentioned thinking about like a community center and intergenerational really opportunities to connect everybody is I think what that last bullet is speaking to. So this is our last topic, and we'll be reconvening in about 6 minutes. So if anyone has questions or comments on any of these.
I'm just wondering, Alexis, if for the last one, we should add an actual community center, because I didn't see it anywhere. And I definitely heard that throughout this planning process, that the town should consider a physical space. So I'm thinking we maybe should just add that. What do other people think?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Peter.
Yeah.
I don't see anything about the broadband on here. Is that because that would be services, I would think. Where in the plan does that?
Yeah, I think that's missing as well. I'm not sure where that went. I know it was in drafts before, but so let's make sure that we put that here to assure broadband access for everybody in the community.
Well, I'd like to, if I may.
Yes, please.
First of all, it will be, and it is. Actually, the first people will be activated early June. And I just want to say that there's high speed now available at the hut for North Blandford Road for people who might need it. But there are a lot of programs that grants and other programs that will help people with, well, first of all, seniors 65 and over. And everybody has been contacted in that regard for the abatement of the $99 fee. And the second thing are people who are economically sensitive, people who need to have help. There are many programs for that. So we can't define them all here, but they're there.
So what would be the strategy that you would like to see included in the town? Would it be to continue, to assure internet access for all, including support for people who are economically disadvantaged or something like that?
Yes, because there's a program which goes till the end of the year. I'm working with Josh on that, and Linda, and Judy and Margaret. That would be, and there's another program through Westfield Gas, actually through this federal or state, where it has to do with, SNAP people who
are eligible for SNAP. Okay, great.
So there's a lot there. The internet is going to be accessible to 99% of the people in this town, and it'll before the end of this year. How are we going to do it? Well, emails, phone calls, and cards, and this, that, and the other thing. And word of mouth.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Are there any other things you want to highlight or that you feel like are missing under this?
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
This is Linda, and on your support services, you do the library and the town clerk's office. Is that going to include the whole town hall? Because it seems like there are other areas within the town hall that need to be improved. It's my understanding the kitchen isn't, it doesn't meet standards for health standards.
Okay, so for item 2, to add in the kitchen at the town hall and other areas of improvement at the town hall.
I mean, it would be the entire town hall.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
I was going to say the exact same thing. And the other thing is that when we talked in Council on Aging about improving and maybe having cluster housing and whatever, and we talked about having a community center, it was a hope that the community center could be for everyone, that it wouldn't just be for seniors somehow. So that has been talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other, go ahead, sorry. Somebody talking.
Oh, I was just saying, all right.
Oh, okay.
Was it, I don't know if there's anyone else.
So do any of these look like you want to really highlight them, or you want to express any concerns about them, things that you think they need to be changed?
Or if there's any slide you want me to go back to before we reconvene, if there's anything that you're, remembering that, I wanted to ask about that, but
Ed, can you tell us what the CDBG is, Community Development Block Grants? Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, Ted, just recently was successful with a Community Development Block Grant for Blandford. What is that funding?
The one for Blandford is housing. It's for housing rehabilitation primarily. And I believe there's also maybe an ADA study in there as well. But primarily it's for housing rehabilitation.
So that's what CDBG is.
Yeah. And there actually is another round coming up, but we can talk about that off another time. So anyway.
Thank you.
The ADA for the Historical Society building. I think that Josh was saying that would be part of that whole grant.
That sounds right. Yep.
Looks like we're at time. Are we?
Well, I believe so. Yep. Fiona said 10-minute warning at 11:22. So.
Oh, we get 2 extra minutes.
Yes. Well,
I just want to thank everybody for participating really actively in this conversation, and you'll hear that the story map is going to be up And just for all of you to please tell your friends and family to go to the story map after this so that we can get more voices in the sorting process for these recommendations. But thank you all for participating robustly in this discussion.
Yes, this was very helpful. And anything that I'm not able to quickly adjust in the polls, I'll make sure when Fiona and I are reading them that we clarify that this is with the assumption that, we're also talking about, say, a community center. Or I'll do my best when Fiona is talking to update those, but it's a little tricky once the meeting has already started. The story map that Catherine had mentioned, I will be putting that link in the chat when the time comes. We just didn't want to put it in too soon because we wanted people to get to the word cloud activity. But all right, so I think we can go ahead and you can click leave room, or you can wait patiently for Fiona to rejoin you in about 30 seconds.
Hello.
Can they hear us now?
Yes, yes. People are filing back in.
So, Fiona, in terms of our presentation for launching the polls,
yes,
a nuisance. I'm wondering if, when everyone's back, if we could go a little out of order and show the word cloud first, because my group, I have a couple edits to make to the polls based on our conversation, and it'll take me about 30 seconds.
Okay, let me do that now. One sec. How was the conversation?
So good. So
awesome.
Yes.
I'm kind of glad that there was a little bit of an added 10 minutes, but when I was floating in between the groups, I noticed that 10 minutes was probably a good thing. So yeah.
Yes, thank you for that, Fiona. I was like, this is great timing. We actually got.
Yeah,
I know, and we needed that. So
I'm glad. Okay, great. So I just moved that slide, Alexis. So
Thanks.
Go ahead and do what you need to, and I'm gonna just share my screen from there. So. Okay. Everyone is back. Okay, fantastic. Alrighty. So I hope that everybody had a great discussion. I know that there was a good amount of time allocated to it, and I'm glad that we had a little bit of a buffer there to make sure that we got all of our thoughts, because there was a lot of strategies, and we really appreciate your feedback. So right now, what we're going to do is showcase the word cloud results. So just give me a moment here to do that. Alrighty, so can you all see that? So we got a good amount of feedback here from everybody. I'm seeing sustainability, I'm seeing resiliency, I'm seeing excitement, implementation, quality of life, balanced growth, one of those themes that I had mentioned before we broke out into our breakout groups. Gathering, involvement, a lot of really fantastic feedback here. Thank you all so much. And, there's still time to add some additional words if you would like to. And we will be posting this on the project website for everybody to see. And thank you again for your feedback. Okay, so going back here now. All righty, so.
Mary has her hand raised.
Yes, Mary.
It's for Eric.
It's Mary raising her hand on behalf of Eric McVeigh, who is 1 in 4 males that is colorblind, and I couldn't even read that slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
White ones were hard to read.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Let me go back and I will.
That whole greenish blue, whatever the colors were in there, they just all disappeared on me. So I think that's just
I wonder if we can
a recommendation for a 508 compliance check on that.
Okay. For this is for the Mentimeter, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, I definitely will make a note of that. I apologize. Yeah, I will definitely change the color for posting on our public channels and make that compliant for you. And I apologize again. But yeah, the majority of feedback that we did get was sustainability, housing, seniors, community resiliency, ruralness maintained, prideful plan, intact town, and the betterment of an intact town, quality of life, resilient future, activities, volunteers, community, inclusion, excitement, rural again, progress, sidewalks, gathering, involvement, direction, and a prideful plan. I think I got them all. So it was a lot of positive, really, really great feedback from everybody. And thank you for pointing that out. We appreciate that. And again, I will change the colors and once we post on our channels. So I will jump back into the presentation now.
All right.
Okay, Alexis, are you good to go?
I think
for the
so. If
polls?
there's anything that I missed, we will just make sure that I say it verbally. There was just some recommendations in the transportation that were so important that could potentially be collapsed down for purposes of the poll, just so that people don't have to use all their 3 votes in one place. So yeah, so just a couple little changes, but yes, we should be good to go.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do a polling exercise where you pick kind of your top 3, you know, now they've all reconvened, kind of getting an idea of where everybody's heads are at as a collective group. So first poll, what were the top 3 land use recommendations you heard today? So I am going to launch that now, give people some time. Let me know if you can't see it or if there's an issue.
Yeah, and if you may, depending on your screen, how your screen is set up, you know, you may need to scroll to see the options. But we're asking you just to pick 3.
Yes, top 3, please.
You're welcome to pick fewer than 3, but definitely try to keep it to 3 so that we can get some sense of priority in the community.
Yes. No votes yet. Can everyone see the poll okay? Okay, there we go. Awesome.
Yeah, we're good. These polls are going to take a minute to each one to get through. So people, these are just for clarity's sake, these are all of the recommendations that you discussed in your breakout groups. So that you had the opportunity to ask questions about them, but certainly feel free to ask more questions. I think we should probably allocate a couple minutes per poll. The results are trickling in. This is helpful. Helpful.
I know that there's a lot in some of the under some of the topics. So yeah, definitely some time.
Yeah, which is why the story map Catherine had mentioned in our breakout group, and I'm not sure, and you know, we'll talk further about, is going to be a great resource to add a little more feedback if you feel constricted by the polls. I know it's a bit limiting.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. So it looks like people have voted. Okay, so for strengthening site plan, the site plan review bylaw to include design guidelines, we have 42% of folks want to see that as a top recommendation. Promoting home occupations and cottage industries received 50% of the votes. Protecting scenic vistas by adopting a new local regulation, 33%. An open space residential development / cluster housing development was 50%. Investigate protection of scenic roads and roadway trees via the Scenic Roads Act, 33%. And lastly, our kind of top priority was adopting a town center overlay district to create incentives for mixed use that is in character with the town's existing look and feel. Awesome.
So one thing I just want to reiterate, this is obviously a very small sample size. So this is meant to give PVPC a sense of kind of priority from the people who've been a part of this discussion today. It doesn't mean that something that only received 33% is not necessarily a recommendation, but it may be considered a lower priority. And we discussed in our group, I'm sure the other group did the same as well, if there was something that people actually strongly disagreed with. So that was a kind of how we handled it as well. All right.
Great. All right. So.
Oh, you just shared it.
Yep. Okay. So next poll, transportation.
Okay. Do you want me to hit launch? Or you got
Nope,
it?
I got it. I've got it. Yep. All right. So transportation, I'll give you all a few minutes. This is a good amount of recommendations in here as well. So please take your time.
So this is one of the ones that the bottom, there were 3 recommendations about basically looking into different resources for expanding services for seniors. And we also talked about disabled residents as well. And so that kind of got collapsed down so people wouldn't have to use up their 3 votes on those 3 recommendations if they felt strongly about it. So I just want to clarify that. And you, like I had said before, you may need to scroll down on your screen to view them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9 options on this one. So just make sure you scroll.
All right.
We'll give it another.
Yeah, another minute. It's still coming in.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to read.
Yeah. And transportation is always definitely generates a lot of feedback as well. Okay, so I am going to.
Oh, we just got.
Oh, nope, just kidding.
More. That's good. We definitely don't want to rush you. All right.
Couple of things with like noise abatement didn't make the list.
Yeah, I know. So that came up in our discussion and I didn't want to throw it in because the other group hadn't gotten to discuss that. But Bob, that is in my notes to pass along to the transportation chapter author. So don't worry. So in our group, the discussion about noise abatement in relation to the transportation chapter came up. And I just didn't want to throw that a totally new recommendation in the poll without the other group having been able to discuss it.
Just didn't want to have it get lost. That's all.
Yep. Thank you. That's very important.
I think 12 is the number you're going to get. So.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we have 58% for monitoring pavement conditions and advancing maintenance and improvement projects based on the pavement management study. No votes for the second strategy, which is performing regular traffic data collection to assess speeds and volumes. 17% wanted to see consider a safety study for the curved section of Otis Stage Road. 33% want to work with MassDOT to replace the structure on Otis Stage Road and monitor bridge and culverts. And then we have one of our top 3 here, breaking through the adopting a complete streets policy and developing a prioritization plan. Fantastic recommendation. 17% wanted to utilize the recent Walk Boston's Walk audit to advance safety improvements in the town center. Fantastic. 42% expanding the existing map of walking routes. And our kind of top priority here was explore opportunities to provide additional rides for seniors and disabled residents in addition to the current town volunteer services. And then an 8% for working with FRTA to expand existing services. So
definitely that senior service that definitely came through quite a bit. And in the transportation recommendations, the chapter does have specific recommendations, which was great. We just collapsed it down for purposes of the poll. So awesome.
Right. All right. And housing is up next.
Okay, about half have voted. Well, this one has a clear lead, Fiona.
Sure does. Some last minute votes coming in. Alrighty, looks like everyone for the most part has voted. All right, so without a doubt, exploring senior housing development and programs to allow aging in place is the top priority here, which of course makes sense based on the results that we've seen from the other topics in this plan. 9% of folks want to prioritize expanding allowed residential uses to include 3 to 4 unit homes. 36% want to prioritize a housing production plan. 45% are in favor of adopting low impact development standards for new residential homes. And lastly, 45% exploring the benefits of an accessory apartment, otherwise known as in-law zoning bylaw.
Oh gosh, yeah, there's some
Perfect.
gibberish there, but yeah, okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
Next is economic development. So the economic development we know is a good amount of strategies here. So allowing for extra time. And here we go.
So there are 2 questions, and I know it's not perfect science because the other ones we asked you to pick 3. Here, it's broken down because you can only have a maximum of 10 responses. So if you do the first batch, pick your top 3 within that first batch. And then if you scroll down, there's a question 2 of the second batch. So really you're picking 6 economic development recommendations, since there are so many. So this one will give you a little bit longer on, obviously, since it's
can you send it to me? I closed it out by accident. How do I get back in it?
oh, hang on, I'm sorry. Fiona, can you hit relaunch? They're viewing the results.
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah, we're all gone.
Yeah.
Relaunch.
There we go.
Can you see?
Sorry.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yep, no.
Apologies. I was wondering why we were getting no votes.
This has a part 1 and a part 2. Are
Yeah,
we supposed to
correct.
choose just 3 on each, or?
Yes, so that your
that's the
top
hope.
3 here, and then your top 3 for the next one. Yeah.
It's not a perfect science, but yeah, that's the idea.
right, so it looks like we got a quarter of folks that have voted thus far. Keep them coming. Oh, this one is not quite the runaway.
No, I know. This is
The others have been.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, there are so many, and you know,
Right.
one of the things that we were discussing about with this is that it ties into so many of the other elements. So quite a few open space related recommendations.
Right, and kind of yeah, like supporting those efforts for sure. Yeah, economic development can definitely it definitely has ties to everything in some way. So it's interesting to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, how it spreads out quite a bit. Maybe go to 4 minutes.
Sure.
All right, this is,
Yeah,
seems
looks like most people have voted. So here we go. So yeah, so this the results of this poll were not yet, no, as I mentioned, not quite as much of a runaway. So a lot of ties here. So pursuing cultural district designation for the village center, 36% of folks considered that one of the top recommendations. Forming a collective that brings together the village center institutions for problem solving and planning, 18%. 36% of folks wanted to work with nearby communities that bring like-minded businesses and strategies together, particularly Gateway Hill Towns Collaborative, who've been working with us throughout this process. So that's good to hear. Providing mini grants to recovery funding to activate outdoor spaces in the center. 55% of folks want to see that. 45% want to advance drinking water upgrades, which obviously has overlap into public facilities as well. So you really see how, kind of considering how these recommendations also kind of forward recommendations to other chapters is interesting to see that. So creating a visitor readiness plan for the village center, 18% want to see that as a top recommendation. Evaluating the best strategy moving forward for a new tenant or owner at Old Town Hall, 45%. Conducting traffic counts throughout the seasons to get a sense of additional traffic along Route 23, particularly in the summer. Busy time for Blandford. So nobody really wanted to consider that a top priority. No one really thought that street side signage was a top priority. 18% of folks wanted to re-examine sign zoning standards though. So that's good to know. And then here we go into the second portion. So 9% of folks wanted to promote the shared technical skills to enable village center businesses and institutions maximum social media exposure. So that's good to know. Okay, so 45% of folks wanted to identify possible trail linkages, as particularly the use of the dirt road network, existing off-road trails, and potential opportunities. So there definitely is a lot of different moving parts to that recommendation, but it seems like a lot of folks are in support of that. So developing trail wayfinding resources, particularly a recognizable directional sign, 27%. No one really wanted to prioritize parking signage and access to bathroom facilities along the trail network. And then the last few, a lot of these were in the upper percentage ranges. So I'm meeting with trail advocates in other areas to bringing them together and evaluating how connections can be made for longer walking journeys, 45%. Initiating a more robust conversation with ski Blandford owners to understand how the town might support a mountain biking path. That was one of our top at 64%. Working with local mountain bikers and local Northeast Mountain Biker Association to gauge interest in resources for mountain bikers, 27%. Advocating for pilot payment revenues that compensate for the full value of protected open space, 45%. And lastly, seeking assistance and tools for permitting solar and marijuana development and ensuring payments are of net benefit. So that second portion is definitely very important. So
excuse me. Can I ask a
sure,
question?
Please do.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I haven't been on the journey with all of you folks doing all of this, so I'm just kind of coming in at the tail end, so I apologize. I just wanted to kind of put in that our family, I was talking with my dad, and our house was always kind of like a place where we like to help others in town and do a lot of events and fun things. So I was talking with my cousins and stuff, and we came up with an idea on what to do with the house, because it's an inheritance. So we thought about, besides the bed, and came up with some ideas. Is I know that the Council on Aging has other thing, and so I'm not trying to take away from that, but an event community center with like a land preservation with trails. So you were speaking of mountain biking, hiking, whatever the town has in place already. We're not looking to take away, we're just looking to add to. We would be interested in being part of that if there was something that needed our land for mountain biking or hiking. And also to do like an event community center. My dad always kind of gave instructions to younger folks on how to run chainsaws or car mechanics, or my mom did cooking and helping a lot of, folks. So seeing it's the hill towns, we just wanted to kind of stick to the rustic vibe of maybe something like that. And we came up with these ideas because I worked at Walt Disney World in the corporate office doing accounting, but I also did marketing, and also for Connecticut Light and Power and for the YMCA corporate office. So I have a lot of experience in marketing and with the budgeting. So that's why I just wanted to bring up those ideas of what we were thinking of doing with the homestead. It's 27 acres. And so if you had any suggestions on how we could contribute to preserving the hill towns, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who is this speaking? It just says iPhone.
Oh, I'm Sheila Reynolds.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
And my first name is spelled a little different. It's actually Shelia. It's Shelia. But any way that we can help or try to preserve the hill towns, the land, but also bring in some type of revenue for the town, and also with the marketing, because people want to pay for an experience when they come to the hill towns. They want to, when they go out, they want to have a feeling. When they go to a store or to an event, they're paying for an experience. So that it's more about the looks in marketing that kind of needs to be emphasized a little bit, I guess.
Great.
Can I ask
Thanks,
a question, Sheila? Where is the property located? That would be great to know.
The property is on one of the main roads. It's at 40. Now, nobody don't come to the door. It's not clean. but got to have a little humor for all this stress, right? It's at 46 Russell Stage Road, and it's actually one of the main routes. We named the Stagecoach Inn because it's one of the main routes where they used to have the stagecoaches to bring the mail. So it connects Blandford to Russell, and also going the back way to Otis.
That's great. Thank you, Sheila. And we're going to make sure we put that recommendation into the plan in addition. And just in the interest of time, I think we need to move on to the rest of the polls. But thank you very much. And Patty, who wrote the economic development chapter, who asked that question, I'm sure she'll be following up with you.
Thank you.
Great.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you,
Everybody,
Sheila.
please stay for just 5 more minutes. Just
Yes,
5 more
please.
minutes. We'll get through everything. Please stay.
Yes. So we're launching historical and cultural resources now. Right, so a 25% of folks voting. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it looks like most people have voted already. So I'm going to end this one. I'm just going to read our top three. So 91% of folks investigating feasible reuse of Shepherd Farm, applying the Rural Small Town Fund. And then we have consider adopting the Community Preservation Act at 64%. And third, pursuing a Center Cultural District designation for Main Street. Those were our top three. So
great.
Okay, so I'm going to go to our next one here. Open space and launching that.
Almost there, folks. But you
Yes,
can't
I will be speedy.
too. So
Did you launch it? We don't see it.
oh,
I did.
Now
Yes,
you
but
took
when
it away.
okay, all right. Sorry about that.
can you see it?
I can.
Yes, now we can.
Great. Yes, please let me know. For some reason, it's blipping on me.
And our group added to the Springfield around Cobble Mountain to actually have action, not just trust.
Yes, yes, thank you for pointing that out. So I changed the wording to say to increase access and build trust. Once again, I didn't want to add the totally new recommendation that Bob had about really exploring the contract and perhaps pursuing legal action. We will pass that, will go along in our notes to the chapter author, but I did at least change the wording to say to increase access. It's more than just about building trust. You're absolutely right.
All right, so people are still voting, so just give a few more minutes, one more minute.
This has a clear front lead, which I'm sure will be no surprise to anyone. And I'm sure the change in wording really to make it stronger is important.
Okay, so I'm going to end this one now. Oh, all right. So our number one was coordinating with Springfield around Cobble Mountain Reservoir and Long Pond Reservoir to increase access and build trust. And as we mentioned, kind of moving beyond building trust going forward. And then there was a little bit of a tie between the 33% of folks voted for maintaining the 7-year updates to the open space and recreation plan, which is currently being updated, implementing a comprehensive strategy for protecting watersheds, super crucial. And lastly, reviewing subdivision regulations and evaluating performance for sensitive natural areas. So those are our top. And second to last one, here we go, climate resilience and sustainability.
And this is definitely one where you're going to want to scroll down.
Right.
I'm just trying to check my notes to see if there were any changes to how we wanted to word that one. Oh, just in terms of explaining the green infrastructure and climate resilience, if you want to think of it more, that first one as reviewing the green infrastructure and climate resilience policy and adopting what makes sense from it, a little bit because you don't have access to it in front of you. That kind of makes it a bit more comfortable to think of it that way. I think that was the intended language.
Can everyone see? Okay, I'm sorry. there was any votes yet. So
Is there any way to connect Cobble Mountain land to the Blandford ski resort going through Mr. Carpenter's land and our land? Because that would make a fantastic recreational.
So what was that, Cobble Mountain to?
To the Blandford ski resort?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
if you go Cobble Mountain through Mr. Carpenter's land, through our land, and through a neighbor's land, you could go from Cobble Mountain to the ski resort.
Okay.
let us follow up with you after
Yeah.
this. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
Patty
Thanks,
will
Sheila.
be in touch to refine the economic development recommendations with your input, because these are great ideas.
Fantastic. All right. Last minute votes are coming in.
Yeah, I know the ones that have more tend to take a bit longer. Just one more after this.
Sorry, we're going over, and I know one person has dropped out. We really appreciate you, and just, I said 5 minutes, but it's going to be 10.
Yes, there's a lot, but yeah, thank you all for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. And I will be speedy, I promise. So the 64% of folks wanted to meet MEMA and DPH standards to make the Gateway Regional School and Town Hall emergency shelters. 55% of folks wanted to conduct a culvert inventory map, flooding map, and prioritizing maintenance of infrastructure of the sorts. And then we had a tie kind of at the top here for the top three at 36%, adopting the green infrastructure and climate resiliency policy, applying for grants for municipal buildings and vehicles to be more energy efficient, and working with the PVPC on green communities funding. So that was that. And last but not least, our public infrastructure and services poll.
So I did want to note, this is one of the recommendations that we adjusted the wording to a little bit because it had come up in discussion, that last one about intergenerational opportunities for engagement. There was a strong sense that involved the space for it, the space to be able to do so through something such as a community center, which Catherine did point out that did show up in conversations multiple times. So we just wanted to make sure that it was clear that there needs to be a physical space as well for that.
Yes, I wanted to just say you again have dropped any reference to the internet infrastructure,
Yeah.
which is imperative. We have that here. It's going to, as I said before, about 99% of the town is going to be connected very soon.
Yes, and I just, I was hesitant to add totally new recommendations based on, because I don't know what the other group had discussed. That is in my notes, and we will make sure that's addressed. Thank you.
Yeah, but it isn't new. It was originally discussed way back in several meetings, but okay.
Yes, I hear you on that. I'm not sure what happened there, but I assure you that will be addressed.
Okay, so I'm seeing some last minute votes here. Okay, so going to end this now. Oh, one more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can see there was a tie, 45% to complete a feasibility study of the new highway department building and salt shed, and moving fire department operations to the current highway department building. So those are linked pretty closely, and tie for the top. And then we also have supporting service and capital improvements for operations at 36%. So great, thank you all for your feedback. And we will share those polling results with you. And so now we are going to talk very briefly about the story map, as we've been mentioning throughout this this presentation. It's a new initiative that PVPC has started as part of the Resilient Master Plan process, and it's a fantastic resource, very visually compelling, and I'm going to show you that now. One moment here. All right, can you all see my screen? So this is the story map site. It's very interactive and kind of catalogs this process from start to finish with a lot of amazing visuals and drone footage. So I'm going to just very, very briefly just scroll down so you can get the full picture of how fantastic this site is. And this will also be posted on the project page for you all to see and continue to reference. So yes, and there's a background piece here with Blandford's rich history, as we mentioned, another the theme kind of reoccurring and tying into this process, data and statistics posted here, and obviously a recap of our vision, our mission, objectives, survey results, and all of that, the amazing work that's been done thus far as part of this process. So I highly, highly encourage you all to check this out and use it as a point of reference going forward. And you will be able to see it, and we will share the link to that as well. So
yep, I just put the link in the chat for those of you who want to check it out now. And as Fiona said, it'll also be on the project website. So and that is interactive. So
yes.
I know PVPC is looking for your feedback through that resource as well.
Just one more quick thing with regards to that is at the end where the goals and recommendations that we just did the various polling and we discussed in our breakout rooms, there is a section for folks to actually submit additional comments with regard to those recommendations. So please go through the story map as Fiona and Alexis are suggesting and participate in that exercise as well. Thanks.
For those folks who are not particularly computer literate, can we get the link set separately to these to everybody that's on this?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Good idea, Bob.
No problem. All right, so we're at the end. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. You've all been super fantastic. And our photo contest winners, Peter's photo was fantastic. It's going to be like prominently displayed in the plan, and we're really, really excited. It was an absolutely stunning visual. Thank you so much for that submission. But there was also a lot of really excellent other submissions too. So we just picked everybody as winners. I hope you all don't mind. We had a ton of really great submissions. So thank you.
Yeah, there's more on the other side too.
Yes.
So the plan is just to place as many as we can within the plan, but with Peter's prominently displayed in some way. But these are just some of the ones we received. I think we received like 25 total, and they were just many from Sheila. So thank you. They're really lovely photos.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much.
Yes.
All right. And as you know, continue to stay informed, utilize that story map, utilize the project website, reach out to us if you need any more information. We are wrapping up this process. As you can see, we're going to incorporate the feedback from today, kind of wrap up the outreach efforts over the next month, prepare for submission. And then, the planning board will ultimately adopt the plan when that time comes. So we're thinking over the next month. So please make sure to get any kind of last minute thoughts in, and everything that you've said today is actually very, very crucial. So thank you for joining us again and sticking with us. And yeah, that's all we have for you. And yeah, please, again, check out the story map and reach out to us if you need anything. And we will be sending that link separately. And we'll be including all of the comments that were said today, particularly during the breakouts and during the polling sections. So thank you all so very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.